I bought a big plastic tank so we can collect rainwater off of our garage gutters. Before I put it in place, I want to build a platform for the thing to sit on. I bought these cinder blocks, which I thought would be a good platform for the tank to sit on. And I'm also going to use this 6x6 that's been sitting around our yard for a long time to build the retaining wall to keep that dirt in place. Here are the tank dimensions. I wanted the tank to sit within the boundaries of the timbers, so the trench dimensions account for the timber size. I started by measuring from the corner of the garage foundation to the outside of the timber dimensions. Stakes are driven into the corners of the outline, and the taut string line is tightened between the stakes. I happen to have a large rafting square to check squareness of my outline, but precision isn't critical since I'm just working with dirt. I sprayed marking paint over my string line to mark where I want to dig, and then I removed the stakes and the string and got ready to dig. Now I'm going to start digging. You're supposed to have 4 inches of gravel underneath your retaining wall timbers, and the timbers should be a little bit below the ground too, but they're not holding back that much dirt in this retaining wall, so I'm just kind of eyeballing it with this trench. You can buy gravel from a big box hardware store or from a contractor supply store. My dad happened to pick all these rocks out of the garden over the past 30 years, so I'm going to use these instead. The internet says there's a few reasons to use gravel underneath retaining walls. First is it's easier to level gravel than dirt. Also, gravel drains water better than dirt, which I imagine helps issues like frost heaving. And gravel doesn't settle as much as dirt, partly because of that water drainage, but I think also the rocks, they lock into each other somehow. So over time, your retaining wall will stay level. I go back and forth with the bubble level to try to make sure the entire trench is level, and this whole process took about 1.5 minutes, and it seems like a lot longer when you're actually doing it, and it's just a lot of tedious moving back and forth and adjusting rocks. Even this doesn't need to be completely perfect, because when I put the 6x6s on top, I'm going to hit those with a sledgehammer to make sure that those are level, because that's what really counts. Next I cut the 6x6s. I had to set my circ saw all the way down, and I made 3 cuts. And then I finished with the handsaw because the circular saw couldn't quite make it all the way to the middle. I level the timbers in a similar way. I put a piece of wood down while I sledgehammer so I don't mar up the face of the timber. I made a mistake cutting the timber. It's a little bit too long, but I figured instead of cutting it down, I would just dig out some more of the dirt. It didn't really make a difference in my case. Added some gravel where I just dug. Then I checked square between the 2 timbers with a framing square just off in the corner. And then I leveled this one just the same way. After I filled dirt in behind the timbers, I marked where the cinder blocks went, dug holes for them, added in gravel, and then leveled out the gravel well enough. Then I put all 4 blocks down and used a straight board spanning 2 blocks at a time to check level. I went to every corner in order, and this got all 4 blocks in level with each other. It took me about 20 minutes to get all those cinder blocks level with each other. Here I'm screwing flexible downspout to the gutters, which will direct water into the tank. Here are the fittings that screw into the top of the tank and receive the flexible downspout. The downspout was kind of wobbly, so I screwed 2 screws into either side of the fittings and then wrapped a wire around so it'll keep it from coming out. I think overall it's kind of a hack job, but it'll work for now. Here are the fittings to connect the tank's output to a garden hose. Apparently there's an official adapter that you can use for these, but these pieces of hardware from the hardware store were a lot cheaper. To get the water out, I attach a hose, which is attached to this little pump that we got from Sears probably before I was even born. It looks pretty small, but it does a pretty decent job getting the water out, and I'll show you. So it comes out pretty good. And that's with the hose from the pump going all the way up the hill, then back down, and way over back behind the fence, and then finally over here. So in theory, if I used a shorter hose and didn't have it running up the hill, water could come out a lot faster than that. With just one big rain, these things can fill up really fast. It's pretty surprising. Well, after about 3 days, my dad used up all the water, 275 gallons. This cinder block sunk in quite a bit, so maybe putting it on cinder blocks was not the best idea. Or maybe I did it wrong. But regardless of water usage, by the looks of this sky, I think it'll be replenished pretty soon.